Immediately after Jacob, Yaakov successfully impersonates his twin brother Esav in order to receive the special blessing of physical prosperity from their father Isaac, Yitzchak. Esav arrives. He figures out what has happened, and he screams out a great and bitter cry. Maybe he was insincere. Maybe they were crocodile tears. After all, this is Esav. He spent the first 60-plus years of his life deceiving his father into thinking that he's righteous when he's far from it. Or maybe it was sincere, an honest moment of reflection on Esav's part. Maybe he realized that he wasn't the man that he was pretending to be all those years. He wasn't the man that his father hoped he'd become, and maybe he regretted that. Indeed, if you look at Megillas Esther that we read on Purim, you'll see that Mordechai, a direct descendant of Yaakov, gets the news that Haman, a direct descendant of Esav, has convinced the king to sign an edict calling for the destruction of the Jewish people. And in virtually the same phrase that's used in our Torah portion, the Megillah tells us that Mordechai cried out a great and bitter cry. Certainly, his was sincere. Maybe it had to be, to counteract the sincere cry of Esav all those years before. Now, like Yitzchak, I'm the father, thank God, of twin boys. So I can imagine how painful it must have been for Yitzchak to see one twin so happy and one so upset. And you can feel his pain in the passages. First, he tells Esav that there's nothing he can do. But Esav keeps begging, so he relents. So Yitzchak gives him a blessing. But did he have to give him that blessing? He tells Esav that you'll have to serve your brother, but when you have cause to be aggrieved, you can throw off that yoke. The commentaries explain that what that means is that when the Jews stray, our enemies, Esav's descendants, will be able to overpower us. That's kind of a preview of Jewish history, isn't it? We move into an area, and we don't just blend into the woodwork. We do important things like discover the cure for polio and the theory of relativity. You'd think our non-Jewish neighbors would want to have us around, but consistently, they don't. Instead, throughout history, they enslave us. They burn down and ransack our holiest of places. They try to forcibly convert us. They expel us, or they exterminate us. Maybe Yitzchak was trying to create that friction because he understood that when anti-Semites come after us, they don't just look for the most Jewish-looking Jews, the ones with beards and yarmulkes. They look for any Jews, observant, non-observant, and everything in between. That forces us to remember our Jewish identity, to bind together. So maybe what Yitzchak was trying to do was to ensure that we wouldn't be fully welcomed, so that we wouldn't fully assimilate and the Jewish people would be lost. Like the famous phrase, either the Jew makes Kiddush or our non-Jewish enemies make Havdalah. So as painful as it is to say, maybe Yitzchak knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to make sure the Jewish identity would never be lost, that the Jewish heart would always keep beating.